Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar on Mahr's product of the month, the 814SR digital height gauge. I'm George Schutz, your presenter. I'm the Director of Precision Gauges here at Mahr in Providence, Rhode Island. And today we're going to talk about the 814SR height gauge and learn about some of its features and so forth. But as you listen to the webinar, if you have any questions at all during the presentation, use the chat feature or specifically the questions feature, and I will respond to your questions after the webinar by email. So our agenda for today is we're going to learn about the 814SR digital scribing height gauge, what it is, its features, its technical data, some of the accessories that are available for the product. We'll see some applications, learn why you need it, and we'll understand what a great promotional product this is because it's a Mahr Lights, and it's our product of the month at a very good price, offering lots of value. So what is a height gauge basically? Well, a height gauge developed from this old scribing mechanism where people used to set a specific height or a length, referencing off a surface plate, and they would transfer that height to another part so that a machinist could go ahead and make that part that specific length. So it became one of the most basic principles of layout work and really a fundamental tool in a machine shop. So people would use a right angle scale such as this, or if they're trying to duplicate another part, they would bring over the part that they're measuring from, set the scribing height at the dimension they want, and then bring and slide over the whole scribing mechanism to their raw piece of metal, put a little scratch mark on it, and that was the point that they were going to maybe saw it off or grind it off or wherever they wanted to do, maybe put a hole there or so forth. But this was the very basics. It all works off the surface plate, and the surface plate becomes your reference standard for all the various scribing or dimensional checks that you're going to want to make. So they are used to set that certain mark on the workpiece, or if you get a little bit smarter, they can start to measure the pieces that you're always also trying to work with. Now you start looking at the progressions of different types of height gauges. You know, they basically started out with the old classic vernier height gauge. So what this basically does is it takes the scale that was separate with the scribing height gauge and builds it into the column, and now you don't need that separate scale to set the height of the scribing mechanism. And for those people who out there are really true machinists, they like these vernier height gauges because they can, set the numbers to they want, and you really have to have the knowledge to use them. Well, things got a little bit easier. People invented the circular scale height gauge, which is basically a little bit of the same concept. There's a scale built into it, but now there's basically a dial that rotates where you can count how many grads or how many times you went up and down the scale and get a measurement of position that way. So again, the scale is built into it. And the most recent addition to the height gauge world is the direct digital ones, where a digital scale is put into the height gauge, and now we have the ability to read digitally a value, setting different zero locations, other than the reference surface itself. So conceptually, the digital height gauge is very much like a digital caliper just mounted to a base. Now, Mahr offers a family of digital height gauges. starting out with the R814SR, which is a manual scribing measuring height gauge, like we're looking at just the very basics here. But we just want to remind you that we do have some motorized full feature height gauges in terms of the 816CL, which is a 1D motorized height gauges in various sizes, 14 and 24 inches. It's motorized for more repeatable readings, has an air floating base. It has full 1D icon-driven measuring functions for lengths and ODs and so forth. And then we also have the 817 CLM, which is a family of 3 motorized height gauges that can do 1 and 2D measurements, ranges from 14 or 24 or 48-inch versions, again, motorized, icon-driven, but now we can do things like squareness, bolt circles. It has statistics and a number of different measuring modes just to make it easy. But our focus today is just on the 814SR digital height gauge. So what is it? It's a high-performance, cost-effective, and easy-to-use digital height gauge for general-purpose surface plate layout and measurement applications. It's really designed to be used on the shop floor on the surface plate, and you can use it as on a surface plate in an inspection area, or you can use it on a plate right next to the machine tool. So the digital electronics allow for fast measuring and data transfer if you need to record those values. What are the main applications for an 814? Well, go back to the very basics, and it's scribing. So here we've referenced off the table. We move the height gauge up to a certain dimension, and then we can put a mark on the piece, and that tells us where to put the groove or the hole or cut it off for the machinist to go ahead and do that. So it's meant for marking the part for machining operations. The second most important function, probably the most one often used, is just for simple measuring. Using the surface plate as a reference, and now once you bring the scribing point down to the surface, you can zero the gauge out, and now bring it up and touch the part from the top, and you can make a length measurement. Because of the digital electronics, you can also zero on different heights. So if you wanted to see the height from this face here to maybe this one here, well, you can set the zero on this surface, bring the height gauge up, and measure that length directly. So there's a lot of features in here. You can set presets and so forth. So the height gauge digital electronics is very important feature to making the system just a little bit easier to use. And you can also use it as simply a stand to hold other tools. So, typically a surface plate, you might have a number of tools on there. You might have a height gauge like this. You might have a sign plate. You might have some bench stands with indicators and so forth. Well, with the 814SR, we saw a number of different accessories that you can make the 814 become a stand for other products. So here we're showing that we have some accessories where we can hold our PS10, for example, or the new M310, or we have a holder for our pocket surf, and you can see they have the ability to be adapted to different angles, so you can make sure that the probe is perpendicular to the surface that you're measuring. So it's a scribing height gauge, it's a measuring height gauge, and it can act as a stand for various tools. We have adapters to hold digital or dial indicators or even test indicators if so needed. So the 814 SR comes in two different sizes. It comes in a 14 or 350 millimeter version. It also comes in a 24 and 600 millimeter version. Resolutions to 5/10, and these aren't very high precision. They're kind of like calipers, but for most general purpose applications, the 814 SR is more than adequate for simple run-of-the-mill measuring applications. So they both employ the sturdy, heavy-duty base on the bottom here. It's ground, and you can see that it's kind of contoured so that your hand can fit around it and allow for easy movement. And that's even made easier because of the surface, the bottom surface is hardened and lapped so that you can slide it around, and you'll see that it's very smooth and easy to use, easy to move from one measurement location to another. If you look at some of the other features we have here, we have an interchangeable scriber. It's carbide tipped. You can buy replacements, or this is where you would put your adapters to hold dial indicators or pocket serfs or other tools that you might want to use. You can also get scribings that have different shapes to them. We have a high contrast LCD display that's clear and easy to use out on the shop floor. There's a fine adjustment tool. There's a locking control so that you can get it to where you want it to be and then lock it there, and you can't accidentally hit the knob to maybe influence the readings. You have a nice, easy, and smooth hand crank for moving the head up and down. And the slide and the beam are, again, made of hardened stainless. They're lapped. Again, that just makes it a little bit easier to use, and it really feels like a precision shop tool. If we look at some of closely at some of the digital functions, all the same basic types of controls that you would find on a digital caliper, digital indicator might be or will be found on the 814. So you have a reset or a zero setting function. You can switch it from inch to metric. You can change from absolute to relative measurements. So you basically have two reference points. You have a preset capability to put an offset into your readings if so needed. It has a data transfer key to send out the information so that you can see on the right there, you can plug a cable in and transfer data. It has auto on-off, basically on time or non-use, it'll turn itself off. And it's a reference system. It really never forgets where its last zeroing point was. So for example, if you set 0, you moved it to a location, and you had to take off for an hour or so, well, of course, the unit would turn itself off. But all you need to do is you can just turn it on, or you can just move the slide. It'll wake up, and it still retains that last 0 position. So you don't have to reset it every time you turn it on. It has good life of a 3-year battery life on it. It has a maximum measuring speed of 60 inches per second. So you really would have to move this super fast for make it to lose any counts. And there's different types of outputs. Just like all our other calipers and digital indicators and micrometers and so forth, there's different cables that determine what type of output that you want. So on this end of the product where the cable plugs in, they're all the same, but the other end depends or determines whether it's a USB connector, it's an Opto RS-232, or it's a digimatic. So these icons kind of remind us what we go. We put these on all our catalog pages and so forth. Reference system, absolute measurement. We do have wireless capability. Wireless is not built in, but we do have the capability with an add-on module to make this a wireless product. Or you can get the USB, digimatic, or RS-232 cables. Another feature that's not with the product, but it's certainly easier for you to use is our Mahr software. This is something that's free to download, and I think that just greatly enhances any one of our products that are digital for you to help you collect some data. So Mahr, again, it's a free software package available from our website that works with our wireless tools, our add-on wireless products, or all our cable technology products, height gauges being one of them. So you download the software, it allows you to transfer that information into various formats, into an Excel program, to a Word program, you can create data processing tools through Excel, or you can use some type of third-party software like QDOS or so forth, and we can send that data to that. And now we have a new version of Mahr that gives us just a little bit more flexibility. And something for you to keep in mind is that we can now attach a identification number to the height gauge, for example. So now when you're making a measurement, you not only record the value, but you can also record the gauge that made the measurement and the serial number of it, so that everything gets tied together. It's a better way of documenting the whole process, and this is a way that I think in the future the industry is going to be going. Other features allow you to set up the data so that you can include the date and time, the serial number, the part number, etc. Can be stored with the data, again, making it more powerful for your data collection needs. And we also, even in the newest version, allow us to undo or erase the last value. So you can see that through Mahr, this is basically an Excel file. You can create templates, you can put limits on your cells and so forth, and now you can collect data into your own format, a very easy way to document and provide worksheets for users to keep with the measurements. But enough of Mahr. It's just another value-added portion that goes along with the 814 SR. Just a quick glance of some of our technical information. We have two versions available: the 14 or the 24-inch version, the resolutions, what our error limits are, the maximum life of the battery, the operating temperature, the weight, the different outputs, and it's all made to the Mahr factory standards. Just some of the accessories that are available. We talked about the scribes. We talked about holders for dial or test indicators, brackets for holding some of our surface finish products, and this is the information about what we call our E-stick and the add-on module to make the 814 a wireless data transfer tool. Now, when you're using an 814 SR height gauge, for example, the height gauge is a good tool, but it's only as good as the conditions and uses that it's put to. So with any type of measurement, the results depend on the instrument and the care the operator provides to that procedure. Many gauges are meant to make that a little bit easier to do. Now, you look at most comparative type gauges like a snap gauge, for example, or even a bench stand. They have the reference surface, bottom usually. They have a sensitive contact on top, kind of like the height gauge here, and they have a reference backstop. So you think of a snap gauge, you put a part into that, it sits on the reference, it goes back to the backstop, and your sensitive contact on top makes that measurement. And you can basically, take your hand off the part usually, and the part will sit there, and you have a measurement that's not being influenced by the operator. Well, surface plate tools aren't quite that robust. They have a precision scale or a sensitive contact. They have a nice base, which is the surface plate, but there really is no backstop. So the parts can be measured at different locations, and basically because parts have variation, you might see some different results depending on where you make the measurement. So you might want to come up with a standard procedure that defines where on the part that dimension should be measured. So the quality, and another thing to think about is the quality of this reference surface, the surface plate itself, is what's directly influencing the measuring result. Any scratches, nicks, dirt really get multiplied the higher that the measurement is made. So you can imagine a small piece of dirt under the back of the stand there, puts a little bit of angle in there. Now you multiply that by 24 inches, you can be an awful lot at the top of the measurement there. So cleanliness is very important in any surface plate tool. So most temperatures or most gauges operate from 14 to 24 inches, but height gauges can go up to 48 inches in length. And as you know, temperature affects everything. We have temperature in the room. We have people putting their hands on the parts themselves. Excuse me. So it's important to think about how temperature can involve the measurement. So you should avoid touching the work pieces with your hands when you're using it. Use your gloves and so forth to become an isolation for the part. Don't touch the post itself while you're making a measurement. Use the base as the tool for moving it around. And just touch what you should be using the gauge with. You use the base, you use the hand crank, you use the locking knob, you use the push buttons. You don't move the gauge around on the stand itself. Again, because it's a thermal device, it's kind of like a thermometer. You should have it avoid drafts. Keep direct sunlight off of it, off the gauge itself, off the surface plate or any of the pieces. You don't want to have the surface plate by a garage door that's opening a lot, or radiators or heaters above, as they can all influence the readings. And if you're taking a gauge block from the lab and bringing it out to the shop floor, well, you need to give that a little bit of time to stabilize and become room temperature. Talked about touching only the critical points. It's important that probably to recheck the zero reference a couple of times during the day. Bring the point down to the surface, set your zero at the beginning of the measurement, and then maybe just after your measurements are done, bring the reference down again and retouch and make sure to read zero, just to ensure that nothing has happened during the measuring process. So with those tips, I think the 814 can provide a lot of value, and is a very good shop tool for making your layout type measurements and height gauge measurements. I think it's easy to use, and it has high performance right next to the machining operation or in the inspection room. It can be used for multiple purposes: scribing, measuring, or acting as a stand. The data output capabilities provide basically transparent data storage for the operator. And the promo pricing of the 814 makes it a very high value height gauge, I think, compared to others on the market. So like 814 SR is our product of the month. You can see it's at a very good price. It's you've probably seen the promotion mailed to you on the left here. We have two versions. The basic one is $590, which is a real good price on this type of product. And if you order one this month, we'll give you a free mug. The height gauge is also in our Mahr Lights promotion, which is running through the end of the year. It's the 814 is in the promotion, but we also have the 816 and 817 also as part of the promotion. So our full family of height gauges is available through these various promotions. So today we discussed, what the 814 is, its features, its accessories, and its applications. Why I think it's a choice that it's the right gauge to use at the point of manufacture. It's a great value. It's some good pricing with the Mahr Lights and the product of the month promotion. And then you say, well, why Mahr? Should I buy this product from Mahr? Well, I think Mahr offers a broad range of products for your industrial needs. So I think Mahr knows metrology. We don't only make the gauges, but we also make the tools that measure the gauges themselves. So we have that knowledge. We have lots of application and competence to help support you. When you call in, somebody is going to answer the phone and get you the response you need. We have a great innovative wireless hand tool portfolio, which is really the leader of the industry and can help you reach the needs of the latest requirements of the industry out there. The promotion prices are good, and I think they offer a lot of value for the product, for the 814 especially. And after this webinar is done, we're going to mail you a link to the recording if you want to review any of this again, and we'll resend to you the PDF of the product of the month data sheet. So thank you for your attendance. It's been great talking to you. If you had any questions and you sent them in, I will respond to them after this webinar. So thanks again, and have a great day.